What's up? It's your boy DerGoMobby. Well, it's week 15 in the 2020 NFL football season, and the Detroit Lions have kicked off their search for a new general manager and filling in front office positions. As per usual, our season is over. Sheila Hant Ford and Rod Wood have started taking interviews, first in house, and are scheduled to bring in ex Houston, Texas general manager Rick Smith. The interview is expected to be held sometime next week and definitely before Christmas. Rick Smith is one of the top GM candidates on the market, and the Lions are being aggressive and bringing him in early, or very early, as the first out of house candidate. Personally, I like that the Lions are not wasting time and reaching out to the top options. It is being reported that the Lions do have widespread interest from GM candidate around the league. Rick Smith is reportedly getting strong interest from the Washington Redskins and the Atlanta Falcons as well. Okay, Washington football team, whatever. I'm not going to go into who was a better situation between our three franchises because, um, Washington has a nice defense set, a young quarterback, and room to improve. And Atlanta was in the Super Bowl not too long ago. But maybe, just maybe, Rick Smith wants the challenge of bringing another franchise out of the depths of despair like he did Houston to really solidify himself as a top GM in this league. Mm, maybe, maybe not. But before I get too ahead of myself, let's fire up a backwood and dig a little deeper into what Rick Smith has accomplished and failed at as a GM and how he could be of value to the Detroit Lions. So let's get it. All right, so Rick Smith has been involved in the NFL since at least 2000, as far as I know. Maybe earlier before that, but for the sake of this video and for time, we're going to start Rick Smith's story in 2000, where he served as the Denver Broncos Director of Pro Personnel. Nah, I'm just playing. Side note, I will add he did serve as the assistant defensive back coach for Denver before taking the promotion in 2000. As a defensive backs coach in that role, he oversaw one of the league's top units and won 2 Super Bowl rings. Experience that is desperately needed in Detroit. Again, another side note, Rick Smith was the youngest full-time position coach in the Big Ten at 24 years old. And please remember, this will not be the last time he would accomplish a feat like that. But let's continue. While in Denver serving as director of player personnel, the Broncos drafted guys like in 2000, Delta O'Neal in the first round, who had 1,000 kick return yards and a touchdown as a rookie, and went to the Pro Bowl in 2001. He finished his career having a solid career. In the second round, they took linebacker Ian Gold out of Michigan, who made the Pro Bowl in 2001 and had a solid NFL career. In the sixth round that year, though, they pulled to steal the entire draft. A running back named Mike Anderson, who went on to have 1,000-yard season and won Rookie of the Year. Mike Anderson went on to have a few nice seasons in Denver before injuries cut his time short in the league. And that was just in his first year at the as a director of player personnel. It really showed his prowess in the scouting department and the ability to draft players that could reach the field. Other picks from his time in Denver include running back Clinton Portis, wide receiver Ashley Lilly, linebacker DJ Williams, and defensive back Dominique Foxworth. Now, of course, Rick Smith wasn't the GM in Denver, so he didn't pull the trigger on these guys, but he led the way in scouting and player evaluations. And he had the title of assistant general manager as well because the Atlanta Falcons tried to poach him back in 2005. So the Falcons have been wanting to get their hands on Rick Smith for a while now. So we're going to be in tough competition with them just to get him signed if we can. What's even better, though, is that Rick Smith was not a part of drafting Jay Cutler in 2006. See, no. The Houston Texans and their expansion team noticed what Rick Smith was doing in Denver, and he was getting rave reviews around the league. Rick Smith interviewed with Bob McNair of the Texans and was hired over then Green Bay Director of Player Personnel Reggie McKenzie and New Orleans Director of Player Personnel Rick Mueller. making him the youngest GM in NFL history. Quite the feat. Smith was 36 years old and placed in charge of turning around an expansion team that had only been in the league 4 years and had a record of 18-46 when he walked in the door. Smith, though, was up to the challenge. The first season sucked. I mean, they almost won as many games that year as the last two seasons combined and went 6-10. But um, he really showed he had an eye for talent in his first draft. The first pick, who they selected first overall, of course, was Mario Williams. Mario Williams went on to be a four-time Pro Bowler, start 150 games, and finish his career with 97 and a half sacks. He was a straight-up beast, and they got it right. He drafted him over Reggie Bush. The second pick they had was D'Amico Ryans. He went on to two Pro Bowls, had 139 starts in his career, 970 tackles, and 72 tackles for loss. D'Amico Ryans was another solid pick in the second round and went on to have a long career in the NFL and make a lot of plays, make a lot of money as well. In the third round, 66 overall, they drafted tackle Eric Winston, who, again, another solid starter in the league. He started 127 games at left tackle, a career starter. And in the fourth round, pick 98, they drafted tight end Owen Daniels. He went on to two Pro Bowls, started in 125 games, finished his career with 479 catches, 5,661 yards, and 36 touchdowns. I can't lie. You really can't ask for much better out of a first draft. I mean, Bob Quinn got to take notes. 3 Pro Bowlers and a career starter at left tackle. Also, 2 studs on defense were his first 2 picks. I think that really shows what he thinks of turning the franchise around. The guy understands talent from his time as a strong safety and as a defensive back coach in the NFL, and it showed. Not in the record itself, but definitely in the talent that was placed on the field. The next season, 2007, was up and down, though. The team went 8-8, and Smith led the Texans to their first 500 season in franchise history. But the draft picks this year just did not stick. In the first round, 10th overall, they drafted Amobi Okoye, the defensive tackle. He ended up having 59 starts in the league, but finished his career with 16 sacks and 177 tackles. A decent starter, but definitely not 10th overall material. In the third round, he did manage to pick up Jacoby Jones, which was his best pick of the draft. He played in 128 career games, but only started in 33. Jones was also a solid returner, which boosted his career shelf life. Jones ended up finishing his career with 203 catches for 2,733 yards and 14 touchdowns, to go along with 4 punt return touchdowns and 5 kick return touchdowns. So again, a solid third round pick. Also in the 7th round, he found linebacker Zach Dowles, who ended up sticking around the league for about 71 games. But in total, this draft was a swing and a miss. But with the team improving to 8-8, they were ready for the 2008 draft. In 2008, third-year GM Rick Smith drafted first in the first round, 26th overall, Dwayne Brown, who still starts to this day. Dwayne Brown has been to the Pro Bowl. He's been to the Pro Bowl 4 times, and he's been an All-Pro. So a solid first pick, and got a franchise left tackle. But nobody else in the draft, in this draft class, played more than 50 games in the NFL. Steve Slayton was a swing and a miss in the third round, but with how electric he was at West Virginia with Pat White, I mean, who could blame him? The dude was almost always in the Heisman race. I always thought Steve Slayton was going to be good. But even still, the Texans again finished 8-8. And while that's average for most teams in the NFL, remember, the Texans are an expansion team, not even 10 years in. Smith and the scouting staff had to improve with his picks if he wanted to get over the hump, though. And in 2009, Smith and company proved they were ready for the task. In the first round, pick number 15, they drafted linebacker Brian Cushing, who went to the Pro Bowl as a rookie. He finished his career with 104 starts, 13 sacks, 8 interceptions, and 664 tackles. Again, a very, very solid NFL career found from a guy outside of the top 10. In the second round, pick 46 overall, they got another steal when he drafted outside linebacker Connor Barwin. He's been to one Pro Bowl, has 112 starts, 56 and a half career sacks, and 129 credited quarterbacks hits. Uh, a very, very solid NFL career for Connor Barwin, too. In the fourth round of this draft, he snatched Glover Quinn, who went to the Pro Bowl, had 156 starts, 24 interceptions, and one of everybody's favorite all-time Lions. Very solid NFL career, very solid player, very solid when he was with the Lions. True leader, competitor, just made plays and was always the smartest person on the field. Picked that dude 112th in the draft. In the sixth round, pick 188, they drafted DB Bryce McCain, who only started in 42 games. Now, for a sixth-round pick, starting in 42 games is pretty good, but he only stuck around in the NFL to play in 132 games, which isn't bad at all. He played in 132 NFL games, so he was always at least, more than a camp body. He was the guy you can get on the field in the nickel. He can come in and spell guys in case of an injury. He finished his career with 11 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, and 62 passes defended. So I would say very solid production for a sixth rounder, if nothing else. The influx of Pro Bowl talent and young players was just what the Texans needed to boost them over the top at the time. Well, sort of, because they had finally, for the first time in franchise history, went on to have a winning record. At 9-7, the Houston Texans dragged themselves out of irrelevance and finished second in the division. Pure elation for Rick Smith as he's the youngest GM in NFL history. I mean, a black man had just flipped the franchise. They weren't quite worst to first yet, but they were a heck of a lot closer than they were before he got there. 2010, though, was a bit of a letdown, especially for Rick Smith. With the Texans going back to 6-10, again after 3 seasons straight with at least a 500 record for an expansion team that just got here in 2002. But the 2010 draft just didn't produce the same amount of Pro Bowl talent, but did emerge with 3 solid players yet again. In the first round, 20th overall, they got a great player in Kareem Jackson. Jackson's still an NFL starter to this day for the Denver Broncos, makes plays, is a leader, has career 18 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 101 passes defended, and 700 plus tackles. He picked this guy 20th overall. So one thing I'm noticing about Rick Smith is he is very capable of finding Pro Bowl starter, career starter, playmaker talent outside of the top 10, outside of even the top 15, 15 and beyond. So that's good. That's a positive for him. In the third round of that same draft, he drafted Earl Mitchell. Earl Mitchell is a starter in San Francisco today. Big guy, 6'3", 310 pounds, is known as a solid veteran run stuffer. Per his career, he has 267 tackles and 6 sacks. Just a solid guy that's over there playing for solid right now in San Fran. So far, Rick Smith has had 2 very good drafts and 2 bad drafts and 1 meh draft, But luckily for Smith, he hits on something in every draft. He always gets a Pro Bowler. He always gets a career starter. So that's one thing I'll give him his credit for. He didn't completely whiff, but you would like to see, some more guys come in that draft. You don't want your guys to be hit or miss unless they're hitting a lot. Luckily for him, he was hitting a lot, though. Early trends notice usually he nails his first 2 picks, but like I said, hit or miss in the later rounds. When he hits, we've gotten Glover Quinns, Owen Daniels, Eric Winstons, and when he misses, you get complete nobodies and busts like Steve Slayton. But I would rather have my bust coming in the third round than in the first and second round, if you know what I'm talking about. In 2011, though, the trend continued. In the first round, 11th overall, this is outside of the top 10, he drafts J.J. Watt. 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All Pro. I mean, Hall of Fame talent. I don't need to say his stats. They crazy. We all know this. Y'all saw what he did to Stafford on Thanksgiving. Big ass out there getting pick sixes. 11th overall. 10 teams passed on JJ Watt. It's crazy. In the second round of that same draft, though, pick 42, he drafted linebacker Brooks Reed. Brooks Reed had a very solid career. He has 86 starts, 129 games played, 22 and a half sacks, 284 tackles. Just a solid career, and he still finds ways on the field. He plays for Arizona right now, and he still sneaks on the field. He's 32 years old, so. But literally after that, guys, we got a bunch of Lowe's home improvement supervisors on the roster. Yeah, I'm talking about a bunch of construction workers. Nobody else worth mentioning in the 2011 draft, except quarterback TJ Yates, who he drafted in the 5th round. And if you know of TJ, then you know he sucked. But again, drafting is only one piece of the job, and the man did add Hall of Famers outside of the top 10, and another solid player in Brooks Reed. In 2011, the Houston Texans, headed by Rick Smith and his draft picks, no matter what you think of them thus far, have finally gone from worst to first, though. That's right, 9 years as a franchise. The Texans were only 9 years old at the time. They're a baby. And 6 years in for the GM, the Texans had a 10-6 record. They won their division and they headed to the playoffs. I mean, that's amazing, though. Like, in 6 years, the man took an expansion team to the playoffs. They lost in the wild card, but, Smith and the Texans were not done. In 2012, Rick Smith drafted in the 1st round, picked 26th overall, defensive end Whitney Merciless. 99 starts, 54 sacks, 13 forced fumbles, 340 plus tackles. Just a solid NFL player. I don't know if Whitney Merciless is still in the league. Should have looked that up before I started the video. He might be, though. Whitney Merciless was a beast. I think he might still play for the Texans, to be honest. He probably do still play for the Texans. In the 3rd round, they drafted guard Brandon Brooks, a 3-time Pro Bowler, 106 starts in the NFL, and will be the starting safety today if not for a torn Achilles, which caused him to miss the 2020 season for the Eagles. Just a solid 3-time Pro Bowler at guard was drafted by Rick Smith. Somebody said in my comment section earlier, you can't draft offensive lineman. Incorrect. In the 4th round, he drafted center Ben Jones with the 99th overall pick. Currently, Ben Jones is the starting center for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, run blocking for Derrick Henry, another career starting center. And these guys were in the 3rd and 4th round. So he can hit it. He can hit it. I think he's better when he drafts defensive players. Most of his misses come with offensive players. So with us, shifting away from Matthew Stafford, bringing in a new quarterback, going to need more wide receiver talent, going to need more running back talent. And that might be a problem, but we got some. He drafted DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not going to do that. And he drafted Jacoby Jones. So he can find it. It's just real hit or miss with Rick Smith. That's what I'm noticing. He also drafted kicker Randy Bullock, currently the starting kicker for the Bengals. Career 83% kicker, for the people that care about kickers. I don't think the Bengals fans like him, though. But, 83%, it is what it is. And with the extra talent he added, bolstering his O-line and his defense, the Texans took yet another step. Year 7, Rick Smith heads not only a division champion, not only a playoff team, but the Houston Texans won a playoff game. Before the Lions, the Houston Texans won a playoff game. Smith had almost climbed to the top of the mountain. Are you hearing me? This is what this man was doing over there. He got his team from an expansion team to the divisional round, where they eventually lost. But the effect he had on this team could not be denied. Smith would lead his franchise to the playoffs twice more after that, and they wound up winning another playoff game in 2016. So Rick Smith took a gosh darn expansion team to the playoffs twice, and the Lions ain't win since before I was born. I mean, ain't won since before I was born. They won twice. That's crazy. It's a great job he did over there. The Texans had become a legitimate franchise and were always contenders in the division. Smith had drafted more talent, like DeAndre Hopkins, the best receiver in the NFL. He drafted this man 27th overall at the end of the first round. A Hall of Famer, another one, a Pro Bowler, man, oh my God, 27th overall. You can't say the man doesn't have an eye for talent. He drafted DJ Swearinger, the safety, 57th overall. Guy's still playing right now. I think he's a starter. He drafted Jadeveon Clowney, but that was a gimme. He drafted him first overall. And also Ben Derek McKinney, the linebacker. He drafted him 43rd overall, and he's a starter in Houston to this day. Don't forget about Christian Covington, the nose tackle, 216th pick. He's a starter in Cincinnati. Will Fuller, wide receiver, with the 21st pick, just killed us in Thanksgiving, is a starter in Houston. Nick Martin only allowed one sack this year, and he's a center, still starting in Houston. And in his final season, as a parting gift to the Houston Texans organization, he traded up and drafted their savior in Deshaun Watson against everybody else's negativity. You know, he was the only guy in the room that was excited. There's a story of him looking around going, hey, who wants a quarterback? If nobody says nothing, I'm going to take this kid because I like him. And everybody else was, nobody wanted to do it. And this man still did it. He said, well, y'all tripping. Bill O'Brien, you tripping. Scouting department, you tripping. Deshaun Watson paired him with DeAndre Hopkins. And you see what happened to Houston. I mean, that takes some gut. That's a real story. You can find it on YouTube. It just goes to show how big of an idiot Bill O'Brien was, man. uh, and then you can't forget he did find undrafted talent, Pro Bowl undrafted talent. He got Arian Foster. Arian Foster went on to lead the league in rushing, I believe, at least once. And then he also drafted, not drafted, but he also signed undrafted free agent A.J. Bouye, who was the starting cornerback in Denver, was locking shit down in Jacksonville with Jalen Ramsey, made a name of himself, made a lot of money in the past 5 years. Just some solid guys. He has solid guys spread out throughout the league, starting for other people's teams, starting on the teams that drafted him in Houston still. He just has players all around the league that he drafted, so it really just goes to show he has an eye for talent. And he's proven. In 2017, though, Rick Smith stepped away from the Houston Texans organization in order to be with his wife as she battled breast cancer. And unfortunately, his wife did succumb to breast cancer. Sad situation, man. Sad story. He doesn't have his job as a general manager anymore because he wanted to be with his family, which is 100% commended. And then, you ended up losing your wife. So it was smart for him to take that time away. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't go back and change anything. He got to be more with his wife as she went through, that terrible experience and be with her up to the end. And now, it's been 4 years. It'll be 4 years, 2021 season. And since he's been gone, Bill O'Brien has traded away all of the team's draft capital. He traded away DeAndre Hopkins, and they've reverted back to the basement that Rick Smith dragged that organization out of. But now Smith says his mind is clear again, and he's ready to make his return to the NFL. Do I overlook things like the Osweiler contract? No, I do not. But what would you do if you're the GM of a freaking expansion team, man? You can't get a big name free agent to come sign to you. You guys don't really have a culture. Brock Osweiler was the top free agent at quarterback, and Smith did what he had to do. He gambled, and he lost. But don't ever forget that he was able to trade that terrible contract and player away for a second-round pick to Cleveland when everybody with eyes could see that man stunk. What Rick Smith did to the Browns, making them eat that 16 million in dead cap for a second round pick, and then going and taking Deshaun Watson off of a trade up in the same year's draft. That's a savvy GM move. Sometimes it ain't about, how you miss the shot. It's about how you rebound, baby. It's about how you box out. Rick Smith literally boxed out Bill O'Brien. He boxed out the scouting department. He boxed out the scouting department and he rebounded. Traded away the mistake at quarterback and drafted the savior at quarterback. And he cleared 26 million total dollars off the books. It's also known that Rick Smith did an excellent job at re-signing his top draft picks and keeping them on the team, something the Lions have not done so well. Um, and I like it. All GMs reach, they all gamble, they all miss at times, but it is about minimizing the risk and the impact. And that Osweiler trade, where I think he could actually most improve, is probably going to be a problem, though. And it is with the free agent acquisitions that he bring in. The best free agent acquisition he had was signing Lamar Miller, who ended up playing for their team for 3 years, rushing for 2,934 yards and 13 touchdowns, and signing quarterback Jonathan Joseph, who played 9 years for Houston and had 400 tackles and 17 interceptions. While he had big misses on guys like an older Ahmad Green back in 2007, where he only played in 6 games in 2 years off a 4-year, $23 million contract. There was a guy named Jaquez Reeves who he gave 5 years, $20 million to, who did have 4 interceptions in his first year, but was not with the team 2 years later. He gave Matt Schaub a 2012 extension, 4 years, $62 million, $24.7 million guaranteed. For what? It's Matt Schaub. And of course, there was Osweiler again. Now, it's not going to be any easier in Detroit attracting big name free agents. It's not. So it's probably going to be a little bit harder because we're the Lions, unless you guys, Barry Sanders is just going, everybody just want to go play because they, hire Barry part time. Um, but Rick has to at least get it in, mid tier guys that can stick around as solid rosters, solid starters or role players, and continue to draft these, excellent Pro Bowl players that he's proven he can draft. Um, because an in and out rotation of free agent signings, they come in the door and out the door, in the door, out the door, in the door, out on injury reserve. That will not be tolerated, by a Detroit fan base that can grow toxic quickly. So the question is, can Rick Smith do it again? The Lions aren't an expansion team by any means, but I mean 70% of the time, that's exactly what they look like. Rick is going to have to prove to Sheila Ford that he is the most qualified guy to rebuild this franchise from the ground up. Um, with the Houston Texans from 2006 through 2017, he posted a record of 92 and 100. His best season was 2012. They had a 12 and 4 record. They won the AFC South, win in a wild card before they lost in the divisional round. He's drafted 39 Pro Bowlers, though. I know there's going to be some people in the comment section after this video. They're all free agents, all Osweiler, all. He drafted 39 Pro Bowlers. Let me tell you something. If you can draft 39 Pro Bowlers, you don't need free agents. You don't need to make a trade. You don't need to, offer a bunch of money to some bum wide receiver, some bum cornerback. 39 Pro Bowlers, with his best pick being J.J. Watt, who, of course, we all know was the 2012, 2014, and 2015 Defensive Player of the Year. With a resume like that, he might actually be able to convince Sheila Ford that he is the man for the job. I mean, it's undeniable he is the man for the job. It's just, how attractive is his job compared to other jobs? Will Detroit get their first pick? Is he their first option? or is he just the first guy in house and that they're going to bring in the door because he's been out for a while? Um, I mean, the Lions did it with Bevel, brought a guy from up off the couch. Um, Only difference between Rick Smith and Daryl Bevel is, nobody ever fired Rick Smith. Nobody ever told Rick Smith you're bad at your job. If not for extremely unfortunate circumstances, we wouldn't even have an option to hire this man. And I think the Lions should strongly consider it. So you guys hop in the comment section, man. Let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what you think about Rick Smith. And there is one more thing. Rick Smith is actually the man that hired Robert Saleh for his first job. He has a relationship with Robert Saleh. So anybody think up in Houston. So anybody that is on the Rick Smith bandwagon, on the Robert Saleh bandwagon, I should say, Rick Smith could be a strong indication that that is the direction the Lions are leaning in. And with him drafting so many Pro Bowlers on defense, pairing him with a guy like Saleh wouldn't be mad. Another key note is everybody's talking about Barry Sanders and Chris Spielman. There is another guy that was hired into the Lions organization as well, and he has a relationship with Rick Smith. So I'm going to talk about that in another video when we talk about Chris Spielman. But that is it for Rebuilding the Detroit Lions episode 1. We'll be back with episode 2. Let me know what y'all think.